Hi, we have Mr. Stephen Alden, who's the CEO of the Mayborn Group. The Mayborn Group owns the hotels Claridge's, Berkeley, and the Connaught in London. And Mr. Stephen Alden is here for the Mint Luxury Conference, and he's kindly agreed to join us at this interview. You know, at the session, there was a question asked, and you did mention about the sort of old world traditional hotels versus the modern new world hotels.
Right.
And you've been to the Taj Mahal Palace, which is one of the old world hotels, and this hotel belongs to the same group, but this is a more modern one. So do you see a similar sort of what can I say, differences and similarities between these two properties as the rest of the world?
Yeah, no, I think what's important, and the point I always try to make is, even if it's a traditional sort of, as you call it, sort of old world hotel, I think what's important is that is just talking about, let's say, the architectural aspects of it, and whether it's been in its place for 100 years or 200 years or whatever. I still think that the hotel's personality remains vibrant and remains, current with the times. Mm-hmm. So, and that's something I believe in a lot. So even the grand dame of a city, so to speak, still stays up to speed, and that's through the staff and through the investments and through the training. These are two different hotels, but I think you get a sense of the attention to detail, and you get a sense of service, which I think are the important values that need to be carried from one hotel to the other, not that they physically need to look the same.
Right. Now, again, there was this conversation about expansion plans, and I read somewhere that the Mayborn Group is looking at Shanghai as possibly one of the places where you could expand. Now, would India figure in this plan as well?
Yeah, Mayborn was set up to develop the hotels and the brands in London, and then to sort of build more internationally with a presence in other cities. I still think it's early days for us to be looking at projects, and when I think it must have been a few years ago, and at the time, sort of like in the heyday of expansion, we were talking about moving into this city and that and the other, but we're still with 3 hotels in London, because we've chosen to stay closer to home. We've renovated the Connaught. If we were to execute a longer-term strategic plan which included expansion overseas, I think it would be sort of very difficult to ignore Mumbai as well as being one of those cities where an internationally recognized luxury hotel company would want to have its footprint as well. So if you were to pick, the sort of 7, 8, 9 cities across the world where you'd want to be, it certainly would be one of them, yes.
Right. Now the chief of Audi India at one of the earlier sessions said that one of the key industries in the field of luxury in India should be hospitality, considering the sort of cultural, cultural connection that we have with hospitality. What is your opinion of this particular thing, considering your
I would agree with that. I would agree with that, because also Minister Kumar this morning was talking about sort of taste and the preservation of national heritage, and I said, and if you add sort of good service to that as well, you pretty much have, I think, the right formula for luxury hospitality. I think India has some core strengths which it should build on. I think there are core strengths which are very relevant for luxury hotellery, and I think that because the culture is so strong in that respect, it would also preserve the distinctiveness of the luxury hotels, which I think is critical, and that luxury hotellery in the future doesn't become standardized. So I would agree with that statement. Right. Yes.
Right. Now, and again, over the years, the sort of clientele that your hotel has been getting would have changed a bit, considering the sort of various new economies that have come up.
No, it does, and also consciously, because we put in place a strategy to diversify the geographical sort of customer base, because I think in any business you don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So I think that the success of our business plan has been to sort of, in some cases it's low-hanging fruit, and in others you have to work harder to do it. But if you're looking at a long-term business plan, you need, and to maintain competitive advantage, I think you need a broad geographical customer base.
Right. Now you have these 3 extremely classy properties in one city.
Yes.
How do you keep them at the same standard and yet different from each other?
When I joined the group 6 years ago, the very first part of my business plan was to define the individual identity of each hotel, to establish the core essence and treat each hotel almost like an individual brand. When we did that exercise, and it took us about a year and a half, we put as much effort into that as any one of the large chains would into a whole portfolio of brands. So where there we define that the core essence of Claridge's brand is about a sense of timeless glamour. At the Connaught it's personal, it's a more intimate scale. And at the Berkeley, it's about exquisite innovation. So those are the guardrails for the initiatives we put into place. So the hotels are underpinned by the values of the group, and those values don't change. But then the way they're interpreted in the different hotels is very different.
Mm-hmm. Now, your Connaught underwent a lot of changes.
It went through a £70 million renovation.
Right. Now, again, it's a challenge to be able to modernize while retaining some of the old world, the charisma and the charm which attracts people.
Yes, it's a challenge, and I think everything worth doing, needs to be studied and planned very carefully. I don't think these things happen by accident. It's a difficult challenge and an important challenge, but when you're making that level of investment, you don't want to get it wrong. So we took on the challenge, and we planned, we delivered, we executed, and the results are there, and people enjoy it.
Is the effort really to keep the old-fashioned exterior? I mean, rather to, in your face, it still is old-fashioned, whereas the modernity is lurking somewhere behind it.
No. I think it has to be in both areas. I think it's when you look at a historical building, very often there will be many elements of it which will have been added on over the course of the years, which really have no architectural significance. So I think that, for example, is an essential component just to understand which part is true heritage and which part is just somebody's idea, in the 50s or the 60s or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to strip it back to the bones of what is the true structure you want to preserve. And then you can add, you can layer onto that sort of new elements, because people will like the shape of the old windows, but it doesn't mean that they want to hear them rattling or feel cold because they don't conserve heat. So the window will be the same, but the technology in the glazing will be different. And some of it is actually, contemporary art, which is right there and visible, and the scale of things changes as well. Things used to be, all the lamps maybe, or things used to be a little bit smaller, and now it's, a little bit bigger. Ceiling heights people appreciate, materials are different. So we don't hide it, but I think they can coexist.
Right. Now, are there also architecturally certain features in these hotels which were not modern enough or couldn't be modernized in any way?
Yes. No, there are. Definitely. There are many. Mm-hmm. And those are preserved and restored. I mean, we're just restoring a section of Claridge's right now, and we are able to buy the brick from the original kiln that made the brick for when the hotel was built, over 100 years ago, because we want to use the same brick. Mm-hmm. The buildings are protected by the English heritage, but we would still do the responsible thing anyway. So that's where I talk about, authenticity is key. You don't want to change anything just for the sake of change.
Great. So enjoy your stay in Bombay, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. Yeah. Thank you.